I recently reported that Nissan is having a very difficult time selling the Nissan Ariya. Their new electric car came with a whole lot of hoopla, fanfare. The media really hyped it up, so did Nissan, of course. It's not a bad electric car. However, I've been wondering, why is no one buying it? And when I say no one buying it, I mean this is a new electric car, and dealerships across Nissan are stocked up and they aren't moving. We know that from the actual data saying that this is the most oversupplied electric car right now in North America. Apparently, there is more than 200 days of stock of a brand new electric car. How did that happen? Especially when Nissan's production is not particularly large. Clearly, there's some kind of reason customers are saying, we don't want a Nissan Ariya, even though the price is lower than what Nissan said it would be. Well, I think I might have just discovered what that reason is. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. Great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Nissan's Ariya. It was believed to be the company's, basically their halo product, right? Nissan Leaf had been getting old in the tooth. I mean, that thing's about, 10 years old now. And sales for the Nissan Leaf had been, just almost disappeared. We're talking about the first car, the EV, to ever sell 500,000 copies. More than 500,000. Well before the Model 3 reached that number. All of a sudden, the Leaf was old, dated, and Nissan had a new electric car to take its place, hopefully to become the new Leaf worldwide, a big seller. That never happened, for a good reason, possibly. We've just seen the EPA ratings. The efficiency of the Nissan Ariya, I don't know. Something strange is going on here. Now, apparently, Nissan's fans are all over the forum saying, oh, we told you it's great. Look at the ratings. Look at the range. Nissan fans, I'm sorry to tell you, the efficiency of this thing means there's just something fundamentally wrong with it. It seems like it's just too heavy. I don't know what happened here to this EV, but let's have a look at the data, and then I'd be keen to know what you guys have to say. Am I overstating this, or could this potentially be the reason why no one wants to buy the Nissan Ariya? 4 all-wheel drive Nissan Ariya e-Force versions have appeared on the EPA's website, showing us the official EPA ranges. Now, we had already this information for buyers, so buyers did know this stuff approximately already. However, these new range numbers, which are slightly different than those produced by Nissan, now give us a look at the cars' range against each other, side by side, and we can then compare the Ariya versus other EVs that people are buying instead. The Ariya, with a 66 kilowatt hour battery that's usable, I believe the battery pack size is actually 69 kilowatt hours, has an EPA combined range of 216 miles. Now, this is a car that is not particularly big. It's 183 inches long and 75 inches wide. That means it's 4,595 millimeters long. It's a little bit shorter than, say, for example, a Tesla Model 3. And that means it's about a full size smaller than a Tesla Model Y. So the key question is here, why is it that a Tesla Model Y is getting 279 miles of range in its all-wheel drive version? This is simply the rear-wheel drive version. How is it getting 279 miles of range when the Ariya is getting only 216 off a battery pack that is 10% bigger, approximately? That number means the range we thought the Nissan Ariya was getting is actually lower by 11 miles, or 5%, if you get the all-wheel drive version. So Nissan's Ariya base model all-wheel drive costs a fair chunk of money, and it only has 205 miles of range. So that's about 330 kilometers, or just under that. In the case of the much, much bigger and actually quite significantly large for a car of this size battery pack, the bigger version with a 91 kilowatt hour pack, the range of front wheel drive versions is 289 to 304 miles, depending on the variant. If you get the all-wheel drive version, the range is 272 miles, 17 miles or 6% different to the original numbers. So 272 miles for the all-wheel drive version seems to me, what are we missing here, guys? I mean, how is the range? This is not a big car, right? This is not a big car by any stretch of the imagination. We've got a very big battery pack here, a 91 kilowatt hour pack. It uses a ternary battery, which is meant to have higher energy density than LFP. It has all the disadvantages of ternary batteries though. And It only has 272 miles of range from a very big battery pack. Clearly, the efficiency is below what you would expect for a new, modern, ground-up built EV. There is also the top-of-the-line trim called Platinum Plus. That one gets standard 19-inch or optional 20-inch wheels. Its range is respectively 267 miles for the rear-wheel drive version and 257 miles for the all-wheel drive version. So the reason the range is a little bit less there is it has bigger wheels. The more expensive version has a 20-inch wheel and it gets an extra 10 miles of range. Obviously, go down to a 19-inch wheel, you're getting 10 miles more range. So that's why I keep saying, buy the car if you can with smaller wheels. You'll get more range. Now, of course, energy efficiency is lower with the all-wheel drive versions. That's obvious. That's the same for all manufacturers. However, looking at the estimates here, basically what you're going to get is 205 miles of range from the all-wheel drive 66 kilowatt hour Nissan Ariya. 205 miles, well, it doesn't seem like a very compelling proposition when you consider this car costs $47,200 plus a destination delivery of $1,300, and it doesn't qualify for the EV incentives because it's not made in North America or a free trade partner country, meaning you pay that price. You're going to end up paying $48,500 for a car with 205 miles of range, making it a very, very poor value proposition in comparison to other bigger cars such as the Tesla Model Y and the Ford Mustang Mach-E, or even other cars such as cars you might choose to lease because they don't qualify unless you lease, the Ioniq 5 or the Kia EV6. Then you've got other vehicles such as the similar sized Volkswagen ID4 that starts at around $6,000 less, has more range and qualifies for the US incentives. I personally believe the ID4 is not a particularly compelling electric car, but it's far, far better than this at a much lower price, much lower. After you get that US tax incentive, you're looking at a price difference that is $15,000 for a car with more range. I'm talking about the ID4 here. Now, of course, the same thing applies to Tesla. Tesla Model Y with the US incentive costs $40,000 or just under that, in fact. And Mustang Mach-E, or if you get the cheaper version with a similar range to the Nissan Ariya, it costs around $43,000. Then you're going to get that in the end for just over $36,000, meaning this car here is $12,000 more expensive than a similarly priced and bigger Mustang Mach-E. Now, I'm not saying you should get the Mach-E, I'm just giving you an idea of why this car is not selling and why people are surprised. When they go to a Nissan dealership, probably thinking, okay, surely it's a big battery, decent sized battery pack, not a great size, not a big car. I expect a good range, and they're disappointed and probably walk away thinking, why? What's going on here? Now, the same, of course, applies to the other cars here. The all-wheel drive version and the rear-wheel drive version of the 91 kilowatt hour size pack. I mean, a 91 kilowatt hour size pack you would think would give you a pretty good range. But when you find out that the highest theoretical range you can get from the car is 300 miles using smaller 19-inch wheels, it just seems a bit strange that the range isn't more than that. Now, that's for the front-wheel drive model. Now, sorry, when I've said rear-wheel drive in this video, I've been meaning front-wheel drive. All versions that are not all-wheel drive are, in fact, front-wheel drive. And if you want to get the all-wheel drive version, you're looking at the longest theoretical range with the small wheels, 19-inch wheels, is 272 miles of range. In other words, basically, that car, which starts at a price of $52,000, gets significantly less range than cars that cost, after the incentives, $15,000 less. Yeah. Basically, I believe the main issue here is Nissan's made the E-Force or the Ariya E-Force too heavy. For some reason, this is quite a heavy car. It weighs around 4,300 pounds, depending on the battery specification. Obviously, you get the smaller battery, it's going to weigh less than that. The bigger battery weighs a bit more than that. I've just given you basically an average, but it's a very, very heavy car. With the bigger battery pack, it's going to weigh about 4,400 pounds. That is hurting the range. And the thing is, it's not a big car, like I said. Obviously, it's easy to say, well, he's comparing it to the Model Y and the Mach-E and the Ioniq 5, the Kia EV6. It must be a similar size. Well, it's not. It's not. It's a bit smaller than those cars, and the range is lower, it doesn't qualify for the incentives. And I've said this for a long time. If you're not making cars in North America or with a free trade partner and you don't qualify for the incentives, you're not cost competitive. The thing is, even if they were making them in North America, even if they qualify for the tax incentive, it still wouldn't be cost competitive. It's overpriced, in my opinion, by at least $10,000 US based on the range figures and the size of the car. My friends, there is no chance this car is going to be a success unless Nissan change their prices. But they don't make that many of these cars. Nissan right now is in pretty dire straits. They have a lot of debt, and if they want to borrow more debt to try and finance that debt, well, they have been rated as junk. That's true. Their debt ratings worldwide are now considered junk. So any debt that Nissan wants to raise, or cash that Nissan wants to raise, they'll be paying more for that cash than pretty much all of their competition. This is a company that is really struggling. It's strange that the automotive media doesn't tell you that this is a risk. It's a significant risk right now. If you're invested in Nissan, well, you need to seriously consider whether or not that is a good strategy. So what are your thoughts, guys? Do you agree with me? Could this be potentially the reason or one of the reasons why people aren't buying them? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.